night that I can't sleep for a while, baby, it just ain't right.
Hello, I'm Nick Dijulio, and welcome to Nickflicks, an American movie review. Welcome to Nickflicks, an American movie review. The only show on the internet where you actually can talk about Fight Club. It's not a rule. It's not a rule here. You just don't tell Tyler Durden. Yeah, I have planned content to talk about, so stop stalling and just get into it. Thanks for asking. So, I've selected a movie today to talk about that is both old and new. You know what I mean? No, you don't. It's a new movie. Well, it's a new movie. It came out in 2020. But it's got nostalgia to it. It feels old. What is he talking about? Is it Wonder Woman 1984? Absolutely not. It is not that movie that I would be choosing to talk about. Absolutely not. Why would I? No. It's actually a different movie with 80s nostalgia. And the movie's called Bill and Ted Face the Music. I've got notes. I've made notes on a phone. So I can, Bill and Ted Face the Music. 2020 film. Stars Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, amongst other people, Kristen Schaal. There's a lot of stars in it. We'll get into all that. Bill and Ted is a franchise. Not a famous one by any means. Okay, it goes like this. Here's the story. Back in 89, I think, 1989, we're riding the Back to the Future wave. It had come out in like 85 or something. I forget. Time travel, hilarious. Teenagers, they're great. Rock culture, kind of still a thing. I don't really know. And what's funnier than a couple of slacker guys getting in a time machine and because they have to do a history project and kidnapping a bunch of historical figures and taking them back to 1989. It's hilarious. What's funnier than that? Literally nothing. So, who do you get to play the teenagers? Well, I'll tell you. A teenage Keanu Reeves and a teenage Alex Winters. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winters played these like slacker teens who played rock and roll music in their garage all the time, and they like did Southern Californian accents all the time. I kind of forget. It's been years since I watched that movie. But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is the name of it. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing watching this? Honestly, what are you doing watching this? You should go and watch that instead of this. Basically, I think the premise is George Carlin, the famous comedian, is a man. He's a like time cop from the future. Hey, you guys gotta do your history report good because you guys are famous historical figures in the future. But if you don't pass this history report, you'll never become successful guys. And George Carlin puts them in a phone box or something that goes throughout time. It's kind of like a TARDIS. Oh, I never realized that. It's directly ripping off Doctor Who. Even more perfect. Doctor Who's had it too easy for too long. You know what I mean? And they travel back in time and they kidnap like Sigmund Freud and Abraham Lincoln and Joan of Arc and Genghis Khan, and they bring him back to the San Dimas, California mall, and they all run around in the mall. It's a perfect scene, and then they do the history report with all these famous historical figures. That came out in 1989. Then there was a sequel to it in 1991 called Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and this movie is buck wild. The basic gist: somebody comes from the future, maybe it's George Carlin again, I forget, to be like, hey, you gotta like save your future selves or something like that. Anyway, so they like meet themselves, but they're cyborgs or something, and then they get killed by like the angel of death, and they have to like escape hell. It's kind of funny actually now I think about it. And then they make it to heaven where there's Martians and stuff. 1991 was a wild time for movies, and that movie came out with the Martians and the cyborgs and the angel of death and hell and heaven. Comedy movie, perfect, hilarious. That came out and we were like, all right, well that was an ironic twist on this weird franchise, and surely we're done. For 29 years basically, we were like, radio silence, we're done with this franchise. That was a hilarious thing. But the whole time, as Keanu Reeves was making his great movies, John Wick and The Matrixes and the Matrices, I guess, Much Ado About Nothing, the Kenneth Branagh version, all of his most famous movies. As he was doing those, the gears were turning in his head the whole time. About what, you might be asking? Well, about respecting women, first of all. The other thing he was thinking about the whole time while he was doing those movies, he was thinking about how he was going to get famous again with our generation, for some reason, my generation of young people. He was going to become famous again, and he was going to make enough movie to do the final installment of his dumb teenage movie, Bill and Ted. I don't know why that was in the forefront of his mind, but it was. We all know what happened in Keanu Reeves' life. He did become famous. He did get famous with my generation. He did make a ton of money. He's probably so rich. I don't even know what his net worth is, and I'm not going to look it up. You can't make me. But anyway, he's famous again, and he decided he was going to make the movie he wanted to make from when he was a teenager teenage boy, and so he did it. And that is what this movie is. And you might think, oh, okay, it's a vanity project. It's not actually that good. It's, guys, when I tell you, this movie is so perfect. I'll tell you about it. I watched this last night. It was really late. We open on Bill and Ted. They're middle-aged men now at this point. So they're like 40-year-old guys. Actually, Keanu Reeves is definitely in his 50s. I don't know how old he is, and I'm not looking it up. I don't know how much he's worth, and I don't know how old he is. Shut up. I don't need to know. So, yeah, they're middle-aged men now. They're playing in their band, the Wild Stallions. It's established in the old movies that they get married. They married these two princesses from the 1400s England. I always thought that one of them was played by Leah Thompson from Back to the Future. She's not. I used to be a dumb kid. Now I'm a smart guy. And, yeah. It's so cold. Ice cold black coffee that I thought was still hot. So they're playing their music, but they've never really become famous. They're married, they got kids now. They got 2 daughters, each of them has a daughter with their wife. Are played by actresses who like look just like them and sound just like them. It's great. Right off the bat, you're like, let's hope they're gonna keep the franchise going with these guys because they're perfect for it. But Bill and Ted aren't really famous. They're playing mostly dive bars and stuff like that. But they were told that eventually they were gonna play the song to unite the world. They were gonna play one song that was gonna be so powerful it unified the world. Just if I may, everybody always has problems with time travel movies because nobody does the mechanism of time travel right or whatever. You think you know so much. You don't. Okay? Back to the Future, perfect movie. If you say anything to me about how the time travel doesn't make sense, you know what I think about that? I don't care.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? What about DeLorean?
Anyway, Bill and Ted does the perfect time travel stuff. They just joke about it all the time. So don't even come for time travel in this movie because it's already perfect. And if you say anything else, you better have a quantum degree. You better have a quantum degree if you're going to talk to me about the movies. Anyway, so they know that they have to write the song to unify the world, but it's due basically the night we open on the movie, and they're just like playing their whatever dumb music, right? That's kind of a callback to the original movies because, again, back then they had a project due and they knew they had to get it done if they were ever going to be famous historical figures or famous musicians. The Wild Stallions, the name of their band. So they know that they're going to write it that day, but they haven't even started it. And they don't know what it would be, even if they wanted to write it, because they haven't written any good music in the last 29 years, basically. So, Kristen Schaal, actress and comedian, is playing a character, comes to them from the future and like opens up her time travel shell or whatever and is like, Bill and Ted, you gotta write your song by tonight. It's due tonight, and if you don't unify the world tonight, the prophecy isn't true or whatever. So they decide that they're gonna go into the future to see what song it is that they wrote that night. Oh, also, I should mention, meanwhile, while all this is happening, they're having marital problems with the princess brides that they captured in the first 2 movies, and the princesses only came with them because they thought they were going to be, like, some great heroes of some kind, and they ended up just being like, whatever, dude. So anyway, so there's like a serious marital problem scene in it. Anyway, nothing says comedy like couples therapy. So yeah, so they travel into the future. They meet themselves from the future. Huge bummers, these guys. So they're like, well, just go 5 years into the future. And they go even further into the future. They still had not taken the time to write the song. Anyway, you can watch the movie. I don't need to explain the whole plotline to you. So they keep meeting themselves and they keep being bummed out. Meanwhile, as all that's happening, what is important is that Bill and Ted's super cool daughters, they think, well, we're gonna help out our dads by also time traveling and pulling together the perfect band so that they can write the songs to unite the world and it'll have the perfect band. So they go to like 1967 or whatever and they get Jimi Hendrix, and then they go back to like 1922 and they get Louis Armstrong, and they get like Mozart. They get a bunch of like famous fundamental musicians. So they're trying to collect the perfect band to help out their dads through time travel. And they realize as they're doing it that in the future, the like council of people that's responsible for helping out Bill and Ted to achieve their destinies are realizing maybe Bill and Ted are only famous because they die in like a blaze of glory or something like that. So the people from the future are now kind of sending like this Terminator style guy to go back in time to kill Bill and Ted in the hopes that if they killed them, that would fulfill the prophecy. So as the daughters are doing that, they realize that that's kind of going on. And the cyborg guy, the Terminator style guy, hilarious. Has severe self-confidence issues. Ugh, we love this guy. He's got severe social anxiety, this robot. To really pull this plot together, the daughters end up accidentally getting terminated by the Terminator. Bill and Ted then, when they realize that their daughters and also the band of like famous musicians were all like sent to hell. They were all killed with lasers and sent to hell. They also have the robot terminate the three of them, so they go to hell. Now they're all in there together, and they meet their old friend from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Death, who is played by the original actor. They all get together, and Death joins in the band, and they all go back to the future.
Back to the future.
Do you guys hear that? Can we get claps from the studio audience? And they all go back to the future. And time is just folding in on itself, Doctor Strange style. You got George Washington on like the Manhattan Bridge and stuff like that. Like you got like colonial soldiers getting slipped into. You got the pyramids of Egypt are just in some suburb. All sorts of like time travel stuff is just accidentally happening because Bill and Ted haven't done the song to fulfill the prophecy. All the time, the mechanics of it are a little, here and there. Doesn't matter because the heroes are the kid's Keanu Reeves. And I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but they pretty much unite the world in song. It's not important how, but boy did they do it. Anyway, the movie, it's perfect. First of all, the callbacks to the originals in this are sublime, unbelievable. A hologram George Carlin. So he makes a cameo in this, and George Carlin's dead. George Carlin's straight up dead. All the Wild Stallions references on point. It's also got genuinely speaking, look me in the eyes. It's genuinely got a great sense of humor. This movie. It's like it's a slacker buddy film. The White Castle, Harold and Kumar. What was it? Yeah. It's got like perfect like Clerks energy. You know what I mean? That's what they were. Like that's what they've always been. It had that, but it was also like actually a genuinely really high production value movie. And it had like a real like emotional effect to it, where it was kind of a family story about Bill and Ted and the kids, and maybe the real song that unified us all was the friends we made along the way. So yeah, I'm sure Jimi Hendrix would be more than proud of how he was portrayed. Mozart, we know that guy loved, he had a great sense of humor, and we know Louis Armstrong loved time travel movies. That's something a lot of people won't tell you. This movie I know is available on Amazon Prime. A lot of ways to watch it. I would highly recommend it. I would also highly recommend watching the original movie. And you know what? Props to Keanu Reeves for making this happen. I'm not gonna drink this. This is cold. This is so cold. This is ice cold. Hope that gave you a good idea of what the movie was like, and if you might wanna watch it. So thanks for watching this video, though. If I got a little too passionate here, you can't blame me. You would too. Join me next time where I'm gonna watch all of Blade Runner, but every time Harrison Ford makes this face where he's like, every time he does that, I'm gonna make a fart noise, like, roll us out. First position. Well, yeah. Welcome. You gotta be natural, man. You're holding a lot of tension in this and this. Reel it in. Internalize that. You're ready to go. I'm getting a phone call right now from an unknown number. And they're calling back.